Hello, everyone. I see folks coming in. We're going to continue to allow folks a little bit of time to join us, but welcome, welcome. We're so excited to have you here today. Welcome, welcome. Welcome in, everyone. We're just giving folks a little bit of time to join us before we get started. We'll get started in just a second here. Welcome, everyone. I'm gonna get us started for the sake of time. Welcome to Land the Internship and Launch Your Career. Thank you so much for joining. I am Dr. Kristina Wright. I am the Vice President of Student Success at the Making Waves Education Foundation. And I am so excited to be here with our amazing panelists, and we'll hear from each of them in just a second. Today, we are going to hear from a current intern. We're going to hear from a full-time professional and a hiring manager about their experience applying for, landing, maximizing, and hiring for internships. Before we dive in, though, I do want to just share a quick overview of Making Waves and why we're hosting this virtual panel. So Making Waves supports students of color from low-income backgrounds to achieve economic mobility. We do this through 4 levers. First, we partner with students as early as 5th grade to imagine the possibilities of their future, find their purpose, and intentional choices toward their goals. We support students to be ready for college if that's what they choose. 100% of our graduates meet A through G admission requirements for UCs and CSUs. We provide scholarships, coaching, and FAFSA support so college is affordable. Our students have access to career coaching, programming, and industry partners in middle school, high school, and college, which opens doors to internships, jobs, and connections. Lastly, we know that a debt-free college degree accelerates economic mobility. So we provide scholarships and financial aid guidance, and 86% of our students graduate debt-free. So I am especially excited to moderate this panel because it's an opportunity to really highlight the benefits of internships, but also the barriers, especially for first-gen students and students of color. We're sharing this information more widely to help students get access to this experience and this opportunity. And so now we are going to introduce our panelists. So we're going to start with Giovanna Barragan. She's a second-year student at USC and a marketing and storytelling intern at Making Waves Education Foundation currently. We also have Garvey Buchongo Whitlow, run perception researcher at Brooks Running, nonprofit founder and fitness model. We also have Andrea Rodriguez, human resources program manager, university relations at Bloom Energy. Welcome to all of you. So excited to have you here and to be a part of this amazing panel. And I have a few questions specifically for the panelists that we'll go through, and then we'll open it up at the end for audience Q&A. So make sure you're using that Q&A option in your Zoom panel at the bottom. Okay, so most of the folks in our audience are young people who are trying to find, apply, and secure and maximize internships. So we're going to start with defining internship roles and how HR connects to internships. Garvey, you found an internship that led to a full-time job at Brooks Running. Giovanna, you're currently in an internship at Making Waves. And Andrea, your work at Bloom Energy recruits and develops young talent. Can each of you share more about your internship experiences and or how your role connects to internships today?
Sure, I can go ahead and take that, start with answering the question. So great to be here. In my early career, I actually didn't get a chance to have like a summer internship. I worked, I had a job where I needed to work, so I didn't necessarily have that traditional summer internship. But throughout my early career, I definitely tried to connect with people and ended up landing an internship during the school year while I was in school. And that really took me far. I interned with my career center on campus in my undergrad and was able to really leverage a lot of those skill sets from the career center, which kind of propelled me into my career now. So currently I manage our intern program, and some of the strategies that we use to look for students is what are things that they're doing outside of just their curriculum. If you don't have any actual tangible work experience, what is it that you're doing in your current role that you can really leverage and bring into the workplace? If you are like me and didn't have that traditional internship experience, and what are some things that you can really take on campus or in extracurriculars that can help you to propel to that next step in actually landing an internship. So that's my personal experience, and coming from someone who didn't have a traditional summer internship role. And looking forward to hearing from the other two panelists who can also share their unique experience as well.
Yeah, I can definitely go next. Hi, everyone. My name is Garvey. So excited to be here. I started as a wear testing intern at Brooks Running, coming straight out of undergrad during the middle of the pandemic, and now I currently work full-time as a run perception researcher at Brooks Running. It is the same job, we just switched up the job titles, and I too didn't have that traditional intern experience. I know I'm talking about landing an internship, but internships at Brooks Running really are intense. They're looking for people with PhDs and advanced degrees. And I came into this internship straight out of undergrad in the middle of the global pandemic. So I was technically underqualified for this role, but I went ahead and took a shot and went for it and ended up securing the internship. During the end of my internship, I was extremely vocal about wanting to pursue a full-time role and work with numerous people within the company and outside of the company to help prepare for that transition. A lot of the skills that I had to strengthen were related to interview skills and really building that confidence because I was already unqualified for the internship. So really just strengthening all of those skills that would be necessary for the job. I worked with my Making Waves career mentor to make sure that I was well prepared for the interview process. And I worked along with my manager, the hiring manager, and the person whose role I would actually be backfilling to focus on growing my understanding of software that the company uses and shift my focus from working on apparel projects to working on footwear projects, which was a huge shift. But yeah, that's how I got to where I am currently. And I've been here for about 4 years now.
Yeah, so I am currently still in my internship process and experience and journey. I'm currently a sophomore at USC, but ever since my freshman year, I'm like, you know what? I probably gotta get a head start within the job search and figuring out what I wanted to do in my future. And so that's kind of how I kind of got to here. I was really interested in not only what my major does, but technically I got a really great interest under my communications class, where we built social media platforms and media projects in order to create social change. And so within this internship at my role at the moment, I'm currently a marketing and storytelling intern. So I work with the marketing team with my supervisor, Bonnie, and also my intern partner, Naji, as well. And we do a lot of projects relating to social media content, video editing, a little bit of website design, graphic design, and I'm also learning new skills such as article writing and making stories. And so, yeah, overall in this role, I'm just hopefully creating and building student engagement on media. And this webinar itself is just one of the many ways that we can create engagement, but also encourage others to also hopefully start their internship journey.
Awesome. Thank you all for sharing. I love that each of you had a different experience with internships or not, and are now like here to share that with us. Now I want to talk about finding the right internship. So question for all of you, how do young people find the right internship? What kinds of things should young people be looking for in an internship?
I can go ahead and start. So in my role as a program manager and recruiter, we are looking everywhere for students to meet our qualifications and find the right talent. And so some of the places that we look are LinkedIn, Handshake, any platform where there's a job board, where there are postings for internship, is where we as recruiters end up going towards. We also leverage a lot of career fairs. So if your university has a career fair, you really want to be able to engage with your career services and also the employers who are there. They are there because they want to meet the right talent. And if you are someone who can really stand out in that career fair space, that is the place where you'll meet some professionals that will be able to make those connections. I think it really is about leveraging your network and making personal connections, coming to some of these panels or webinars where you can connect with the panelists after. These are some things that you want to be doing to make sure that you're not just attending the webinar and losing sight of the information, but really connecting with the individuals who are on the panel and using your resources. I mean, they're all here and we're all here to help you find and land something that's going to help propel you forward. So I think really just kind of honing into those resources and all of the job boards and career fairs is where you want to be putting a lot of your time and effort, as opposed to just applying to the position online. There's definitely a difference of making that connection versus just submitting an application that may or may not get to the recruiter's desk.
Yeah, I totally agree with what Andrea has said. At least in my case as well, I tried my best using my network as well. And so I would, I know like at least for me and my roommates, they have always asked me like, hey, how do I find internships? Where can I find for internships? And what has worked the best for me at least, definitely job boards. I look at different college success program newsletters, and they usually have a bunch of job boards and jobs listed for students that is most likely centered towards young students and young college students. And so I definitely would secondhand and just using all your resources and your network. And if not, you can just start applying to anywhere and you never know where you're going to end up. So I just say, go ahead.
Yeah, I can expand on that. I think that the industry that I work in is a little more niche, so you're not necessarily going to see people at a job fair or career fair, but I would definitely take advantage of social media. In my case, I found my internship through LinkedIn, but many companies will post opportunities and resources on other social media platforms as well. If there are certain companies or topics of interest, make sure you're following them on social media. In terms of what to look for, I would say seek a company that aligns with your values and be very intentional about seeking internships that fit into your experience, your areas of interest, your current studies, and things that you like to do in your day-to-day life.
I love all of it. I took away networking, like building your connections. It could be one person or it can be a bunch of people, right? So sometimes there's a little fear in networking because, it's like, oh, putting myself out there, but like sending a message to one person after the panel or the event that you attended is like, helping you build your network and start that process. And then I heard a little bit too, like be specific. If you know that organization, that business is the one that you want to go after, like you can go directly to their website, you can go directly to their LinkedIn page and look for opportunities directly there. And then also like just putting yourself out there. This is also about like finding out like what you don't want as well as like what you want, right? So next question that I have for you all is more about getting hired, right? So what would you say is a common pitfall to avoid during the internship interview or application process? So you found it. Now, how do you like get yourself in there so they notice you and want to hire you?
I was speaking on a panel recently, and someone actually came up to me following the panel, which again, make sure you do that, and asked me to read over their internship application at Brooks. And so this is very top of mind, but I think a common pitfall to avoid is focusing too much on praising the company without tying it back to your own contributions. I think it's great to acknowledge a company's strength, the environment, the work culture, but they typically already know what makes them great. What they want to hear is how you contribute to the specific role that you're applying for, and be very intentional and very specific. Speak directly to job requirements, highlighting the skills that you bring, share specific examples of how you've successfully applied those skills in similar situations. It's great to show enthusiasm, but it's more than enthusiasm. It's your ability to add value back to their company or to their team.
Yeah, I love that answer. I think definitely making sure that you're connecting your skill sets back to the job that you're actually applying for. I think that that's definitely, something that you want to bring forth in the interview process. I think in addition to that is believing in yourself and having the confidence that you can do the job. And having that confidence will kind of shed through in the interview process. And also, just bringing your full self to that interview and who you're talking with. This is, your opportunity to also interview the company to see if your values align, as Garvey mentioned in the previous answer. And, one of the things that you don't want to do is come off as not genuine and not bringing your full self, because that can also be read through in the interview process, and you can tell like, okay, they're just giving me what I want to hear, versus one, I know that they have the confidence and that they can do the job and they have the skill sets to do the job, but two, they are meeting our company culture, and that's something that sometimes with nerves and making sure that you're saying the right things, you want to be genuine in your answers. So I think that is one of the pitfalls that can sometimes happen, and it definitely takes practice and it takes time, but I think that it's definitely something that can be overcome.
Yeah, this is a little bit just more basic stuff. So like while doing your interviews, I recommend just being prepared for it. You don't want to like haven't need research on the company, and then you may have to say something that actually doesn't align with the company, and then it's like, oh wait, what happened there? So I think definitely just being prepared, and then also with the application process, I know a big part is resumes. It's I think resumes these days are kind of changing a lot. It's at least for me, definitely try to update your resume depending on the actual role or job. So you could kind of tweak things here and there in order so then you can have all those things listed in your resume, but then obviously during your interview you want to be your most authentic self, as what has Andrea has said. So yeah, definitely just trying to do the basic stuff, just being prepared, do your research, and also update your resume.
Very, very great tips for the audience. So I'm excited that you all shared a little bit more specifics about your own experience too, in like your current role and how you got there. So we've talked about finding, applying, and securing. So like, yay, now they've got the internship, right? So what are your tips for how they maximize that opportunity, right? Because it is temporary and sometimes it becomes permanent and sometimes you move on to something else. So I would love for each of you to share, like, what are the top 3 things that young people can do to make the most of their internship once they get it?
Yeah, I can go ahead and kick off some answers to this one. So as a program manager and working very closely with the interns and just kind of seeing their whole journey for the whole 10 weeks that they're here, we definitely can see the students that stand out and that, are putting in as much as they want into the internship versus those who are, just kind of there going through the motions, which again, it's early in your career, there's nothing wrong with that, but there's definitely some things that we can see. And I think, one of the top things is definitely putting in and making the most of your time there. What you put in is what you're going to get out. So if you can leverage, all of the events that they have, that companies put on, any learning and development events, connecting with your manager, and taking advantage of all of the things that you can get out of your internship, I think you're gonna see the return on that, on what you put in. So I think that's one of them. Utilizing all of the opportunities that are there. I think 2, you want to continue to make those meaningful connections. You'll work with your manager. I think finding a mentor within the company would be my second tip. Your manager is there to be used as a resource, and if they can connect you with someone, they can help find you land something within the company. I've seen that with, one of my interns connected with one of the HR business partners, and he ended up getting hired, and he's now working for her. So there's success stories there. And then I think the third thing is, it would probably be to take what you learn in school and actually apply it. I think sometimes when you're in a classroom setting, it's hard to kind of visualize or picture, like, how would that work in the workplace, or how would I be able to take that? If you're just taking exams and tests, try to see if you can actually apply what you're learning in the classroom and take that to the workplace. And I think that will take you pretty far. And then vice versa. After you finish your internship, you can now visually see how it works in the workplace, and you're going back to school. How can you take what you learned in the workplace and be able to apply that to a classroom setting? So I think those are 3 things that would really help you to make the most of your internship. And looking forward to hearing what Garvey and Giovanna have to say as well.
Yeah, I can add to that. I really just want to hone in on building those relationships. Networking is not just about making connections for the future. It's about building meaningful connections and relationships now. So yes, that means with your manager and the people you're working directly with, but also make sure to set up like one-on-one chats with people cross-functionally, because that can go a long way as well. If there might not be a full-time internship or a full-time role available in the direct area that you're interning, there might be opportunities across the company that you wouldn't know about unless you were building those cross-functional relationships. With that, I would also say be curious and ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions and seek advice from colleagues or mentors. This also shows that you're taking initiative, and it helps you gain valuable insights that go above like the job description and what you're doing on the day-to-day. And then with that, I would also say be proactive and take initiatives. Like Andrea mentioned, companies love to see that you're going above and beyond, and that's what helps you stand out. So always be proactive in taking on additional tasks or asks, or helping reinvent processes. Things of that nature will help you go a long way.
Yeah, and I really like how you guys mentioned the relationship aspect. I think that's super, super beneficial. And I think for a lot of interns, especially when they first start out, I think it gets really nerve-wracking just because you may not know the exact expectations, what is expected of you. And you won't know it until you get there. You don't know the projects that you're going to work on until you get to that role. And so, at least for me, my tips are just to accept new challenges and don't be afraid to do them, because you can always ask for help and you can always ask questions. I think that's a big part of work culture as well. It's like if you're able to ask questions, if you're able to be close with your supervisor managers, that is super helpful as an intern. And also just don't let opportunities go. If there's like a project that your supervisor wants you to work on, go for it. There's probably a reason why they asked you to work on that specific project. And overall, just be proactive, answer emails, be communicative. You just want to be proactive so then you could, as what Garvey and Andrea has said, to hopefully make yourself stand out.
Amazing, amazing responses. I loved, Garvey, what you said. It's like networking is not just about the future. It's about you developing in the now, right? It's like building those relationships and not thinking like, what can this person do or provide for me later? But like, what can I learn from them now? I love that. And then the optional, like, I feel like it's usually they're optional. They're like, oh, so-and-so's leading a lunch and learn, or they're having this extra meeting. If you want to attend, like, you're welcome to attend. So trying to put yourself out there and attend some of those to learn more about the organization, maybe about somebody else's role, and then go back to the networking and connect with them after to continue to build your network, right? So just being curious and really putting yourself out there so that you can really make the most of your experience. I loved all of that. So now we are going to transition to questions from the audience, and there are several. So we're going to choose a couple, and hopefully maybe I can combine some so we can get to as many as we can today. So there are some about just building skills and experience. So building how to build your interview skills, how to build your resume if you up so that if you don't have that much experience, but you really want to put yourself out there for that job. So curious, and anybody can answer this, all of you can answer if you want. What would be your advice on how you build up your skills? So build up your interview skills and also like enhance your resume or show some of those transferable skills that really resonate with the internship you're applying for.
I can share from a recruiter perspective. So, definitely building on some of the class projects that you've worked on and taking that. I was someone who didn't have like tangible, work experience or an internship. So I really focused a lot on some of the class projects, some of the extracurricular things that I did. I was, part of like a mentoring program. So if there's anything, that you can really showcase that you're doing outside of just your curriculum that's transferable to the, job description or job profile, that's something that can really help enhance your resume. Another thing on just like interview tips and tricks, if there are mock interview opportunities, you definitely want to try and participate in some of those, or even just connecting with a recruiter and saying, hey, I'm interested in just kind of doing a quick, mock interview. Do you think you can interview me? I'm applying for this role. And, they might be open to doing that as well. And, I always say, even if you're interviewing for an opportunity and you don't end up getting that role, that's just an opportunity to get you prepared for the next interview that you're going to be doing. So those are just two tips that I can share just on things that we advise students when we work with them and helping to enhance their resume if they don't have that like hard tangible experience, and then how to kind of prepare for an actual interview.
I would just add to showcase your ability to learn. There are a lot of skills that can be learned on the job, and I think when you're applying for an internship, there's an expectation that you won't have everything figured out. So you can learn software, you can learn company practices, you can learn social media if it's like a marketing internship, but really just demonstrate your ability to learn. Another thing that the hiring manager during my internship said helped my application stand out was actually the visuals of my resume. She said she was used to seeing a whole bunch of black and white, like your typical resume. And I went in Canva and just used a really cool template and showcased my creativity, which went a long way as well. Not necessarily a soft skill, but also they want to see that your personality and values mesh with the company. So during your interview process, make sure that you're being as personable and genuine as possible. They are people too, and they understand that you're applying for an internship. So really lean in and lean into that as well.
Okay, next question. And maybe we'll start with Giovanna and then anybody else can jump in so that because I feel like this is something that a lot of young people experience. So the question is like, I have the opportunity to take an unpaid internship or apply to an unpaid internship in my career field, or like I can continue to work my current job, which is at Starbucks. Like, what should I do? How do I choose, what to do next? Like, how do you make that decision, or what advice do you have for someone in that predicament?
I think definitely leveraging the pros and cons. And so definitely look into, like I say, unpaid internship experience, especially if it's at a company that you really, really want. Definitely go for it. You're going to gain those experiences and it will hopefully set you up for an actual full-time position in the future. You can work at Starbucks, maybe possibly any other time. But ultimately, this unpaid internship can possibly be something that is going to be a fulfilling experience that can probably not be matched at another place. And I say definitely try to go for it, especially if it's something that you really want, something that on a company that really has really great work culture that relates to the values and your personal values that you have. And so yeah, definitely just try to leverage those pros and then also look into different ways. But I'm sure Andrea and Garvey also have really great insight on that.
I guess that is the hard one because it's like you're getting paid and you may need the income, but then there's also this opportunity that could give you a better opportunity, or something that can really kickstart your career. So I would say, what Giovanna said is just kind of weighing out the pros and cons. Working at Starbucks also provides a really great experience as well. Like, I also don't want to discount that. There are people here at Bloom Energy that worked at Starbucks for 7 years and then got their master's in HR, and then now they're working here. So that can also help you to kind of use a lot of those thinking on the fly skill sets and working with other individuals. But I think to what Giovanna said of using that opportunity, even though it is unpaid, to really start you off and getting that next career move, I think that is something that should be, that you can also think about as well.
Awesome. No, thank you for that. I think that is so important. One thing that I would add to is like, start by talking to your manager, right? About your interest in this opportunity, to see if there's some flexibility in your schedule if you want to do both and you want to have that opportunity. So that goes back to that building a relationship and having like good communication with your manager, whether it is at your current job or a future job or trying to land an internship. So communication is definitely key in all aspects of your life: work, personal, like education, all the things. The last question that I have for you all is, just for those that are seeking internships, right? So maybe they're wondering how many I should apply to, or, just so to secure one by the summer. Like, what would you say is, one tip that maybe we haven't talked about yet today that you really want to impart to the group that we have?
I can kick things off. I would say don't start at no. I mean, don't stop at no. I made mention earlier that I applied for an internship that I believe that I was unqualified for, but don't disqualify yourself. Definitely take those risks because you never know what can happen or what a company is looking for. And on the flip side of that, if you're not chosen for an internship, ask the company to provide feedback about your application and ask about other opportunities within the company. But yeah, what I would love to leave you guys with is just don't stop at no, and you miss all the shots that you don't shoot.
Yeah, I think I saw this in the Q&A too. It's about what if I don't have any experience? And I think with a lot of young students and young people, we always, for some reason, we always seem to undermine ourselves. When in reality, you have the experience. It's just there's just a way to pitch it. And so I'm gonna be honest with y'all, like there has never been one thought about me where I was like, yep, I'm gonna be a marketing intern or a storytelling intern. And I have never had that thought before. So when I was applying for this role, I was extremely, extremely nervous. And since the beginning, I kept telling myself, like, you know what? I'm not good enough. I'm not experienced, not qualified. Like, hey, I don't even major in marketing. Like, I was like, I'm just not gonna get this. But I was interested in it. And I think that's all it really takes is just like an interest, just a joy in doing things. And so for example, like what Andrea was talking about, I really enjoyed my communications class and the project that we did. And so I was able to apply that within like my internship process or with my application process. And also during high school, for example, I also enjoyed making videos for like our dance club and editing them and adding music and making posters. But, although like at that time I was just doing these things for fun, but it soon becomes a transferable skill that you get to use in your role. So for people seeking internships, don't undermine yourself. You have the experience. You just there is a way to pitch it, and you just have to practice. And if you have the interest and you just have the motivation to do something, that's all it really takes to get that internship. So yeah.
Yes, I love both of those answers. I think it'll be hard to kind of top that. But I think to wrap, I would say keep your options open. I think, with all of kind of like our stories, I didn't have the intention to land a role in HR, let alone working with students in university relations. But I, interned at my career center and had a passion for working and connecting with students. And I also had a business background. So I kind of married the two and found a role in university relations. So, I think if you keep yourself in a bubble, it sometimes can limit your opportunities. So definitely just, being open to any opportunity that comes your way might be, just your next step closer to where you want to be and where you should be. So I think that is something that I can kind of leave you all here today, is just making sure that you're keeping your options open, and ensuring that you're putting yourself out there, and I think everything will kind of fall into place. And even though it might not seem that way, there's a reason for everything, and everything does kind of fall into where you're meant to be. So that's kind of the last thing I would leave you all with.
I love that. I love that. We actually have like 5 more minutes and a couple of new questions came in. So I do want to see if we can answer them. I love that our audience is participating and they're totally engaged in all the things that you guys are saying. So definitely want to see if we can answer a couple more. And so throwing it out to everybody who has, a response, but how would you approach you know, an alum or someone who works at a company. Like, you know, there's now LinkedIn makes it so easy to send a message. But also on LinkedIn, you get those messages and you're like, is this a real person? You know, is it spam? So what would be your advice, or if you have experience in trying to connect with a brand new person who works, you know, potentially at a company you might be interested in? What would you say is the like way to go, or how do you try?
I guess, you know, in my role, I do get reached out to by a lot of students, and sometimes I think it can be hard to, you know, find a student that really stands out. You know, a lot of the messages seem like they were like copied and pasted, and you know, everyone, it's very generic, or sometimes like someone on my team will forward me the same email that I got. So it's like somebody reaching out to literally everyone on the team. So I think the best way to do this is maybe find someone who has a similar connection to you on LinkedIn. Like you can see, okay, I'm connected with this person and that person works at the same company. So you can maybe say, hey, you know, I know so and so that works at this company. I'm just curious if you can connect me with them, or I'm curious if you can share your experience working at that company. And that way it feels a little bit more personable, rather than just like, okay, I'm going to copy this email and send it out to everybody on the HR team, hoping that, you know, they'll notice me, and we do notice you, but maybe not for the right reasons. So I think you know, again, this just kind of goes back to being genuine. You want to come off as being personable and genuine and being yourself. So that would be like one way that you can approach it, is just being slightly intentional about how you reach out to an individual or wanting to make that new connection.
Love that, love that. Garvey, Giovanna, do either of you have experience or advice on like how many internships you should apply for if you're like, I need to get one this summer and I want to guarantee it? Like, am I putting all my eggs in one basket? Is two enough? Like, what would you say? Or do you have experience of like, I applied to 10 and like got, you know, 2 interviews? Like, do you have any personal experience?
I don't have that experience, but I'd say be as intentional as possible with reading applications recently for incoming interns. Companies can really tell when you're casting a really wide net, so be as intentional and precise about the company and the role as possible, especially if you're applying to multiple internships within the same company. Yeah, be intentional. A wide net is great, but make sure it goes back to what I was saying earlier. Make sure it aligns with something you're passionate about, your field of study, because companies can tell.
Yeah, I don't know if I have like an absolute number to apply for. Um, but I would recommend to maybe focus on like 3 that you really, really want, because it's kind of hard to put like your 100% self into every single application, especially if you're applying to like, I don't know, 10 of them for the summer. It's, you know, you're a student, you have other responsibilities, you may have other things to do. It's kind of hard to try to research every single company, and trying to see how your values can align with theirs. So I'd say to definitely go for the white net, as what Garvey has said, but then also maybe just try to focus on like 2 or 3 that you really, really want, that you can focus on, that you can practice your interview skills, that you can do try to see if you can go to the career center to try to get like a mock trial, or a mock interview, or getting your resume updated. So those are definitely things that I would recommend.
Awesome, awesome. Well, that is our time for today. It's been incredible to hear from each of you and to have you on our panel. Huge thank you to you, Giovanna, Garvey, and Andrea, for joining us today, and to all of you, our guests, for joining the conversation. We hope it was helpful. I am just overwhelmed with joy and excitement for each of you in your own professional experience and growth, and what this panel and this information will provide for other viewers even after our live panel. We'll be hosting more student panels this year, so keep your eye on your inbox. Sign up for our newsletter if you haven't yet, so you can learn about more opportunities like this. And lastly, we have a very short feedback survey in the chat. Make sure you share your thoughts about this webinar and let us know what you'd like to hear about in the future. Thank you all so much, and good luck with your internship processes, and we'll see you next time.